So, welcome everyone to our workshop today. Abby and I are huge fans of healing and transformation, and we are also dear, dear friends as well as colleagues. I've known Abby, oh my gosh, for a long time now. What is it, like 7, 8 years, something like that?
Something like that.
And we've always worked together in some way. Either I'm on her table or she was on my table, or we did coaching together, coaching one another, supporting one another in our personal lives and our professional work. And we were talking this year about the tremendous amount of change that we have been feeling personally in our lives, in our relationships, and our work. And we thought, why not create an opportunity to gather with other women who may also be asking similar questions about who you are in the face of what has changed for you, either in the last year or the last few years. I just feel like we have all been taken by this gigantic wave of change that the pandemic brought, on so many levels. And what I've heard from my clients and colleagues and friends is that they're actually feeling the effects of that change even more this year than the year previous, which I found very interesting. A lot of people's practices changed. I moved across the country this year. I left a state, a beloved home of mine, after 25 odd years, and I'm now in the Midwest, finding myself really a little bit lost. And so I kept saying, who am I now that everything has changed? And so part of this workshop is devoted to supporting you and reconnecting with the heart of who you are, and hopefully gaining some clarity about the new longings that you feel are emerging for you in your life and relationships, and maybe also in your professional work. So that's kind of the lay of the land today. And so I just want to ask all of you, is that what you signed up for? Does that sound like we're on a similar page? Um, and of course, we also want to acknowledge the incredible impact of what is happening in the world today, not just in the last week, but just in the last years, how much we have been impacted personally and collectively by the immense amount of loss that we are experiencing right now. The situation in Israel, also the Ukraine, there's Hawaii, like there's so many world events that keep coming, that keep changing our collective landscape. And I think that as sensitive people, who really deeply care, we cannot be immune to the impact of these changes globally. And so that's another reason why we felt it was really important to hold this space for us to come together, because it really is in the coming together that we heal and that we reconnect with what is most important. So we're hoping that you will walk away with, I suppose for me, it's a feeling of reconnection with what is most important to you and how that informs the way that you walk in your world, in your life, in your relationships, and what you create in your life. So I'll just briefly introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. My name is Andrea Maxine Freyd, and I am a founder of a healing and coaching program called Follow Your Bliss. I support women who are seeking to live into the creative vision they have for their work and their life. And I also work similar, like Abby, with women who are in transition, who feel that they are moving through change and are looking to create something new. And yeah, I think think that's it for me. That's my introduction for now, and really happy to be here with all of you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I kind of like tossed it on you to start I just want to presence myself for a second because you mentioned world events and how we're affected. And right before coming on this call, I got really bad news, not about my family, somebody I know who died because of the recent events. And I met Andrea right before allowing you guys into the Zoom room, and I said, I'm feeling so shaken and because of this bad news. I don't even know what to do with this right now. And I feel like in this kind of gathering and this kind of work that we're doing, to presence our vulnerability and how we're feeling and the depth of our emotions in the moment feels really important. We don't push that aside so I can show up sort of with my mask on, here to impress you. I wish to show up with you as I am now, to allow you to show up as you are now, not masked and armored. We have enough of that in our life, and how we have to kind of struggle in the world. And so I wish to bring that to the table too. I am confused, I'm lost, I am shaken, I am sad. And it's not separated. We don't separate life and who we are and how we are now. And I feel, yeah, so I invite that. And similar to Andrea, I also have a healing coaching program for women. I work mainly with women in their midlife who are waking up to, I've done the caretaking, I've done the kids, I've done giving myself to my job. Who am I now? Time is running out. I don't want to waste it on things that don't align with who I am, things that don't serve me, things that are not my truth, and then find the courage to move through so much resistance and habits and insecurities and self-doubts in order to really find how to implement that in our lives, not just in theory, but to really live it and allow it to be implemented, whether it's in big things like jobs and relationships, and whether it's just how I am in all my various relationships and how I conduct myself in my life. Um, yeah, I think that's basically it. So welcome and thank you so much for sharing this Tuesday noon, afternoon, early afternoon, wherever you are in the world with us. I know it's a kind of a tricky time, so it's really nice to see who shows up and what emerges from our being together.
And I'll just, if I may, just share like the agenda for today, just what we were thinking of moving through with you, so you can have a little bit of a preview. As we'd love to hear from you why you showed up today and what you are looking to maybe receive out of the time we have together. We also wanted to move through some embodied practices so that you can tap into the deeper clarity and wisdom that you have inside of you for the things you long for. And we'd also invite you to reach out to either Abby or I for a one-on-one consultation where you can take your personal process deeper. So Abby and I both offer a free complimentary new client consultation, whether that means you become a client or not. We offer these sessions, these discovery calls or clarity calls, so that you can take this initial process a little deeper in a private space. So we'll be including our emails in the chat here, and you can take those with you and book those free calls whenever you feel the time is right for you. And we'd love to support you. We're both very passionate about supporting real change in the lives of our clients. And that really begins with being in connection with what is and isn't working anymore. So we're going to be going through like a mini process in our class today of what that looks like and how you can start to, ask yourself those questions and guide yourself through the internal landscape of your questions and your longings. So, another thing is, you feel free to ask us to stop the recording. If you have something you want to share and you don't want it to be recorded, just say, I have something I'd like to share. Would you mind pausing the recording? And we will absolutely do that, because we want to hear what you have to say, and not all of it belongs on a recording. We really highly value confidentiality. And we also appreciate you being open for us recording this call, because there are other people that signed up that couldn't actually be here live. So we really do appreciate you allowing us to make this available to others. Okay, any other housekeeping details, Abby, that you'd like to add before we start?
No, I really want to. Really want to hear from you. If you're okay, just unmuting yourself and telling us, your name. I know, and where you are in the world. I know some of you are not in this country, or one of you, and just like where you're at, whatever bits and pieces you might want to share about what brought you here today.
Well, can you hear me?
Oh, hold it, Christina. I'm gonna pause. Pause the recording again. So I'm just gonna keep going, and I'm sure she'll join us. I'd like to talk about awareness. When it comes to making changes in our lives, and it probably for some of you, this is something you already know, but the first and foremost is that we have to be aware. We cannot heal what we cannot see. If I'm not aware of how things operate in me and how I'm operating in my automatic way, then I can't do anything about it, because it all happens in the dark. So the first thing I need to do and to practice is being aware. Andrea, I'm just jumping into awareness, but if there was something that you wanted to say.
I actually left the meeting and just got back in. I don't know what happened to my computer. So happy for
Okay.
you to, yes. Hopefully
Okay.
that won't happen again.
All right. So I'm just introducing awareness. When we start to become aware of how we are and how things operate in us, we create choice for ourselves. Because it's only through awareness that we have the opportunity to pause and say, oh, this is what I always do. And in that pause, we create an opportunity to do it differently. And that means that we have to constantly catch ourselves in the act of how we are and take stock and exercise and practice this thing where I become aware of how I am. So what I want to do with you today is just lead you through some awareness exercise to taste that. On the edge of our comfort zone, there's so many forces that work on us. If we want to make a change that is not necessarily natural for us, that is difficult for us, we have to push through our comfort zone. But on that edge of the comfort zone, there's so much that happens, right? Like there's so much resistance or excuses and fears, and everything kind of gets triggered and everything bubbles up inside, really to try to keep us safe in our comfort zone. So in order to see that this is just the thing that we fall into, we have to be aware of how it operates on us. So for example, for me, when I decided that I'm going to take my business and my work to the next level, I had to put myself out there in a whole new way that was not comfortable for me. Quite the opposite. It was terrifying. It was awful. It was like everything I never wanted to do. And I had to like up my awareness, because let's say I wanted to put a post out there or a class or an invitation, it would rise up all the insecurities and everything that said, this is not safe, I can't do it, I'm not good enough. Everything that makes me usually stop in my tracks. And it's only through me being aware that this is how I do it, that this is the way my judges work in me, that this is a voice of my insecurity, can I actually move through those insecurities and still allow myself to do the things that scare me? One of the ways to track that is through our body. Our bodies don't lie, and they are filled with information for us. We so often overlook it, but if we learn to be aware of how we are reacting in our body, that can be an internal compass as well. If I spend time with people that later on I feel so exhausted and depleted, I can feel through my body that this interaction might not be the best thing for me. If I feel after an interaction uplifted and energetic and excited, my body is showing me that this might be a good thing for me. And that goes for everything, for food, for activities. There's always something in the body that shows you if, like the gut feeling is in the gut. And it's easy to override that, but this is part of becoming aware, is also becoming aware of how we are in our bodies. So I'll give one more example and then we'll go in. Let's say I am triggered. Let's take the theme of wanting to put my business out there. Let's say a friend of mine or colleague did something, she put something out there and I see it, and immediately I feel irritable and kind of triggered because she did this. Through awareness, I can look at myself and say, well, what's really going on here right now? I'm triggered. I have to be aware that I'm triggered. Then I can ask myself, what's going on for you? Now I can be aware that the reason that I am triggered is that she did this, and actually I'm really jealous. Now I can take my awareness even further and say, well, why are you so jealous? Now I'm aware that I'm jealous because I feel like I can't do this and I really want to. So now I can take this awareness a step further and say, well, what's going on that you can't do this? Now I'm aware that somewhere inside, I just don't feel good enough. I don't feel like I am good enough to do what she did. So now I can take my awareness a step further and say, well, what do you need then? What do you need in this place? Well, I need to feel valued. I need to feel accepted. I need to feel loved. I need that for myself. So awareness holds so much power for healing and for changing the automatic flow that we always fall into with our own beliefs about ourselves, of what we can and cannot do when we're on the precipice of change. So I want to take us into a short guided meditation and practice what it means to each and every one of us to be aware right here, right now. And I want to remind you that we don't trust the little details. So what if I'm aware of a part of my body? How does that help me in the change that I want to create? And I want you to trust that this is like the ABC, like playing scales on the piano so that you can play a concerto later on. This is the practice. I become aware. And then I implement it in my life, but I have to practice this. And I start with right here, with right this. So let's just close our eyes. Make sure we have a comfortable seat. And I want you to see what it means to you right now to call yourself back into your body. Where is your body? Where are you? And as you start focusing the light of awareness inward, what can you sense in your body right now? Not as a thought, but as an actual sensation in your body. Is it your feet on the ground, your butt on the seat, an ache or a pain? Your heart beating? What can you become aware of right now? And I invite you now to become aware of your breath. Can you be aware of it as it comes into your body, creating a sensation through the passages, the nose, the throat, the chest? And can you be aware of it as it goes out, the chest, the throat, the nose? What sounds are you aware of right now in the room where you are? Is there a taste in your mouth you might be able to become aware of? And can you bring awareness to how you are feeling right now? Maybe you don't even need to define it or give it a name, just the sense of it. And where is this feeling in your body? Myself, I often find this feeling in my chest and my throat. And I bring my light, my gaze of awareness to that. And I be aware of the head wanting to take me away into my thoughts. In this place of feeling maybe quieter, maybe more observing, maybe slightly more in my body, can I become aware of being aware? And you see that there's a part of you that is watching you. And I be aware of being aware. So I'm going to invite us all back to our connected space. And as you open your eyes, in the same way, can you be aware of looking out through your eyes? Can I still keep an awareness that I am here in my room in front of the screen watching you? Andrea, you want to talk about acceptance?
Yeah, I would. And if you, I would like to invite everybody to maybe type in the chat what they became aware of. If you want to share a little bit. I know for me, I was very aware of my excitement, like about this group, and I kept wanting to like leap out of myself and like tend to others. It's much harder for me to stay in my own experience. I'm very other oriented. And so I kept noticing as you were leading us, becoming aware of what you are aware of. I was like, wow, I get really excited and I want to jump out. And I'm working on more containment and patience and honoring what I need over what others need of me. So that was really interesting. So if you have anything you want to share in the chat, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, and I also want to add to what you said that often when I try to shine the light of awareness, I'm already looking for something. There's something that I'd rather see. Like I would like to search for a calm state, an openness, a presence. And often what I see is exactly how I am right now, which might be in my head, spinning all over the place, irritable. And so how can I just with my awareness be with what I am right now, wanting to leap out and take care of others? Because that is the practice, is to really see how I am, not how I would like to be, how I am.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. I love that. I love that. Aware of my body's need to slow down. Mm-hmm. Great. Oh yeah, eating fast and not paying. Oh my gosh, that's one of my terrible habits. Eating while standing and trying to rush through it. Well, I like what you bring up, Abby, and I think it leads into the next topic that actually supports awareness. When Abby and I were sitting down and thinking about, well, what's really the structure for creating real change? The foundation is self-awareness. And right? You probably can relate to this when you slow down and you take your attention inward and you become aware of what is here for you. You may run into places that are in conflict or in question or in resistance. And so we wanted to talk about acceptance as a radical form of empowerment. I think, one of the things that comes up around acceptance that I hear a lot of the time is trying to make something that is not okay, okay, which is not acceptance, right? It's like when I hear this a lot. It's like, okay, I know that happened. I just want to let it go. I just want to forgive. And yet underneath that statement is a whole lot of emotion, rage, right? Anger, resistance, resentment. There's this assumption that acceptance is just like, I'm just going to be okay with everything now. And I would argue that acceptance is a radical form of empowerment when we can get honest about what it is that we're sitting with and how we really feel about it. Not, I'm going to try and make this situation that is not okay with me okay. Does that make sense? So let me give you an example. When someone has trespassed me, when someone has done harm, and I am not in agreement with that act, it would not be true acceptance if I were to try and make that situation I genuinely disagree with to make it okay. What would be a radical act of empowerment and choice is to accept that I disagree with the trespass and to work my own process around it, to come to a place where I can let it be, but also keep my integrity with myself. Does that make sense? So my teacher would often say, there are going to be plenty of things in the world you disagree with, but that doesn't mean you have to lose energy over it. It doesn't mean you have to give your power away to things you disagree with. Now, I think this is not just a women's issue, but we do it a lot. I will say that. We tend to try and make it okay when it's not okay. Does this make sense? How that's not a real form of acceptance. It's a form of trying to make a situation that we genuinely disagree with okay when that is not the truth. So then we're faced with, well, how the hell do I get to the truth? Right? How do I get there? And this is why we paired awareness with acceptance, because these two are always dancing with one another. It is valuable to identify the things you don't agree with. It is valuable to see where you are not in acceptance with a particular situation. It is valuable to see where you are in disagreement with yourself or at a crossroads. And so when we can accept, I am in a space, I really don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I want. To be in real relationship with what is and affirm the ground we actually stand on so that we can create real choice, real change. So I want to lead you through a little bit of an exercise, somatic exercise through the body with a particular real life situation, right? I would say maybe not something that is so big, because we're working in a group and we may not have enough time to bring it all the way to resolution, but maybe someone who irritates you would be a good good thing. That family member, that relative that just drives you nuts. It's like, oh God, here they are again, and it's Thanksgiving, and they drive you, that's a good level of, I'm not in an acceptance. Does everybody have that in your life? Like at least one person? Okay. So, right. And we all know we can't change anyone. We can't make them into who we want them to be. But we can move ourselves from the place of irritation to radically accepting them for who they are and celebrating their consistency. That is when we know we have arrived at acceptance. It's like, I can at least celebrate this person is consistent with who they are every single time, even if it drives me nuts, right? So that's kind of how I look at it. And again, this isn't like a hard, fast rule, but I do think that it is problematic for us when we try to make situations that are not okay with us to try and make it okay. That's not what change is, right? That's like what is that? A compromise that is unhealthy for us. Now, we all need to make compromises, but a compromise that is not honoring of who we are. Yes?
Can I make a distinction? Just this is what I'm hearing you say.
Sure.
Tell me if you agree. That it's not about accepting the situation and the circumstances, and in that respect, compromise or even like be in defeat. That this is not where the acceptance that we're talking about. The acceptance is accepting ourselves.
Yes.
Ourselves as who we are.
That's
in
part of
that
it.
way, changing the circumstances.
Yes, I do. Yes. And simultaneously be in relationship with a situation you do not agree with, right? So we can, right? How do I want to say? Yes, I agree with that. And I think it's both. It's coming into acceptance with how we really feel about something, and also with the reality of how a situation may be breaking our heart open. Like, for example, what's going on in Israel right now is a really perfect, it's not an example I would wish us to, have to work with, but it is a very real example of how does this work when a situation is out of my control. And I absolutely do not agree with the level, with violence, right? With one, human violence against another human, right? This is abhorrent to me, and I cannot agree. And can I find my way to have a relationship with what is, to not deny what is, but to be in relationship with what is, and to have a real, appropriate human response, instead of trying to make it into some, oh, well, everything happens for a reason, and, philosophize about it to try and make it okay when it's actually not okay. Does that make sense, right? Like, well, there's no way for us to tidy it up with a bow. And can we be with the greater complexity of something so out of our control and such a devastation? Can we be with that and remain in integrity with ourselves and remain in our own wholeness, to bring about something different, that we can actually create something different by having a real relationship with things we don't agree with? I believe we need more training with how to be with more complex situations in the world. I don't think they're going to get less. And that's a whole nother class. It's like not about making it into a nice, tidy thing. It's like, how do I be with this complexity? How do I be with this thing that doesn't have a reason that I agree with? This is resilience training. And I believe we need that, right? It's not going to get easier and it's not going to get less complex. The human experience is always moving us to greater complexity. And so how can we expand our capacity to be with what is on the full spectrum and not deny how we feel, but be fully in that emotion? And in that moment, as you were speaking in the beginning of the class, when we radically affirm what we do feel, we come more into life. We have more of life. We advocate for life, right? We have our own agency back. So, does that make sense, or is that helpful? So, and like Abby was saying, the answers and the processes that lead you to a place of acceptance or greater compassion or greater clarity are within. It really is a brilliant, wondrous thing that we can access what we need through our direct experience. So I'd like to invite you to think of a situation that you have a hard time finding peace with. Maybe it's a person or a relationship that has been challenging, that you don't know the answer to yet. And I just want to invite you to close your eyes and connect to this situation. Bring it to your mind's eye, bring it up into your heart, and just feel what this person or relationship, this life situation brings up for you. Holding this life situation in your awareness, and just first noticing what arises for you, what sensations, emotions, thoughts, beliefs arise for you. And then notice anywhere you feel a lack or a gap, a space that feels in need of something. So if there is sadness or anger, can you notice a gap or a space of lack where something more is needed? Follow the thread of the emotion. Notice where it lives in your body. And ask yourself, if you were to sit with the emotion, the sadness, the grief, as an aspect of you, what does it need from you as the witness? what is needed here to simply be with the truth of the feeling. Feelings want to be felt. So, what is needed? What needs tending here within you? Is it simply listening? Maybe it's a hand on your heart. Maybe an embrace is what's needed. Noticing where the hurt is, the confusion, or the question, and what is needed. And then I'd like to invite you to give yourself exactly that. Whatever it is that you need for you first. And give that to yourself internally. And notice what happens in your state of being when you are given this need, when this need is met. What does it enable in you to feel your need is met? And just taking a moment to reflect on how this internal process unfolded for you. How did your body guide you towards the truth of your own feeling? What did you receive? What did you notice? And from this new place of inner awareness, how might your view on this life situation, the circumstance that you chose, how might your view have changed or been impacted? How might you see the external situation differently? And you may or may not, but just notice when you reflect back to the original situation, what might have changed, what shifted. And when you're ready, letting that go for now and coming back to the group, and maybe we'll take a minute to share a little bit about that with each other. So maybe if you want, shall we pause the recording for the sharing? What isn't working? And I really think this is an important piece. So I'm going to hand it over to Abby. What isn't working? Being in relationship to what is not working.
Yeah. So in the word is escaping me. In the spirit of shedding awareness on my life, and in order to move to being more practical and specific, let's identify specifically what is not working for me in my life right now. What is, in what area? Is it in my relationships? Is it in my job? Is it in my geography? Is it, what is it? Is it in the fact that I would like more creativity? And for me, there's always often like the image of like us sitting around a bonfire, kind of in a ritual ceremony of sisterhood. And we each get to throw that thing that no longer serves us into the middle, into the fire, and like, bye-bye. What would it be? And can you define it for yourself? And I'm wondering, since like we're getting a little low on time, if we want to do breakout rooms quickly, or do we just want to like presence it right here, right now with each other? Personally, I would love to hear from people. So I don't really want to send anybody to breakout rooms and miss out on you. But I'm wondering if we can be brave enough and like just voice it without needing to even go into too much length. What do you think, Andrea?
Yeah, if everybody's okay sharing in the main space, I'd love to do it here with everybody. And I can model it real quick in case people are wondering like exactly how to share this. It's like, okay, so one of the focal points for me, very real, is my personal life has gone through a tremendous total transformation this year. I feel like I'm walked into a whole new reality, and it has made me question my work and my purpose, which was an area that I was always very clear on. And that has been really scary, to doubt something that for so long I had so much understanding and clarity and faith and knew and no problem, had a lot of gusto behind. And so what's not working anymore, what I've recognized is really what's not working anymore is my tendency to overextend myself in my work. And that has been a huge, steep learning curve. It has not been comfortable, but I'm here stating that with.
No, we lost her at the statement. Oh, okay. I'm going to assume that she was stating it. There's something in you are being my witness, that I am stating this in front of you, that it anchors it in me. So let's pause on Andrea. And is anybody else willing to share what they like to throw in the fire?
I can try. Well, there's a lot of big questions where I'm.
All right, so we wanted to just add a few little pieces at the end here, because we we ran out of time and we didn't want to leave you in the fire burning only the things that are not working, but we wanted to give you the rest of the class as some field work you can do on your own. So where we left off was looking at what isn't working and having a clear connection with what's not working, so that you can have a sense of what maybe the deeper needs are that you have So identifying what's not working, what's getting in the way of what you do want, is important so that you can tend to the needs that are urgent, that are here, that are present for you. And it's also, right, the corresponding question to what is not working or what's getting in the way or what are you ready to shed and release is what are you ready to say yes to? What is the vision that you feel in your heart, in your being, that is currently emerging for you? And giving yourself some time to be in the reflection of that, be in the contemplation of that. What is it that you, if you were being bold and courageous and there was nothing holding you back, what would you say yes to in your life? And part of why that's so important is oftentimes we can be making decisions or choices based on routine, based on what we know, based on what we think is possible. And, utilizing some of the exercises we did today, like awareness and being in relationship with what is, we can start to tap into a new sphere of possibility where we start to take ourselves out of our comfort zone and into what's next, into the unknown, into what's possible. So, and again, I'll just reiterate that, part of the invitation today is to contact Abby and myself to guide you in a deeper exploration of what it is you want to say yes to. So maybe you'll decide to book a discovery call with one or both of us to access the vision. What I find often gets in the way of the bigger vision is the details of everyday life, the busyness, the demands, the obligations, the responsibilities that we have. And so just to give yourself time to be with yourself in the desire that you are feeling, in the space of the unknown, to not have to know the answer, but to feel the quality of the vision that is newly emerging for your life. Anything you want to add to that, Abby?
Yeah, I think that oftentimes there's some people that know exactly what they want, and there's a lot of people out there who that it's really scary to admit. It's scary to admit it to my own self that this is something I really wish for, because oftentimes if I admit to it, I'll actually have to do something about it, and doing something about it is so scary. Or there's no way in the world I can do it, or who am I to, or whatever things get triggered when that, when I connect with my vision, like, oh, but it's not going to happen for me. And so I think there's so much power in saying it just to our own selves, saying it to a piece of paper, let alone say it in front of other people. But there's something about being able to say, I wish for that. And maybe I wish for more joy in my life. Maybe it's not even as specific as I wish to, I don't know, go and study, blah, blah, blah. But I think there's a lot of power in saying it. And yeah, I think that's what I want to say. Stating it, owning it, claiming it.
And that kind of leads into, right, the personal declaration. So something that often is the first step in claiming what you want, in saying yes to what you want, is actually putting it into a commitment statement. That's kind of what we call it. I am a commitment to, or I am committed to. You could use it either way. I am a commitment to is more using it as a whole statement of I am an embodiment of this commitment. But if you just take a moment to think about, right, again, if you were courageously saying yes to the thing that you want the most, What are you a commitment to? What are some of the qualities that you embody that are committed to seeing through on this intention for yourself? And we felt it important to bring this in because a lot of us will keep the ideas of what we want in our head and not take action on them. And I think what you're saying, Abby, is exactly right, that naming it is the first step. Coming into the connection with the feeling and then naming what it is you want, even if it's not fully formed.
Right.
And maybe it feels like a little bit of a jumble right now, but what is it that you are committed to? What are you a commitment to in your
Yeah.
life at this time, at this moment?
And energetically, it's so interesting because I've had clients who came to me with a huge list of what they don't want anymore, fully aware that they don't know what they want, they just know what they don't want. When we start to know what we want, it opens up a direction where the energy moves forward. If I only know what I don't want, I'm still stuck in everything that I don't. So stating what yes helps the energy move forward and towards it. Um, and also, so we're inviting you to take now a piece of paper and write it for yourself. And usually these things are really important to us. It's like a very intimate relationship with ourselves and our own lives. And I kind of like to call it like an essence promise, or, like I'm promising myself and my essence that I'm committing to this for us, for our being, for the human that I came into the world to be and become. So can I make this little promise to myself that I'll take care of this?
I love that essence promise. That's what it feels like. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I love that. And I think the next thing that I'll say, and then we'll bring it to a close, is there are qualities. I'll just say a word about the core qualities. There are internal resources that you have that are natural to you, that are built in to you. They are core essence qualities or soul qualities, soul purposes that come with who you are, that are in support of this commitment. And part of the work Abby and I do is hold the space for you to get in touch with these core qualities that are inherent to you and that are seeking expression to support the direction, the trajectory of your commitment. Oftentimes we think, I don't have what it takes, or I need to find a resource outside of myself to make this happen. But actually what we'd like to impart today is that the resources are within you to follow through on your commitment to yourself for the vision that you hold for your life. That part of the work is discovering the resources you already have to make your dreams come true, to make the next step of growth and change. That the core qualities are, when they are discovered, when they are nurtured, when they are strengthened, actually come together to bring yourself into fulfillment, to bring your commitment to fulfillment. And that's why this is an embodied process. This isn't just, I want something and I'm going to go take the steps to get it. It's about discovering the resources you already have that will come together to fulfill on your commitment, which is a reiterative process, right? We're always asking and we're always going there. and rediscovering the core qualities we have to bring about the things that we want to create in life. So that's probably a whole nother class that we could do. And if you're interested in discovering more about the resources you have available to you, we invite you to book a discovery call with us so that we can hold the space for you to go deeper into your personal experience. And this is what our coaching work is for. This is what we are passionate about. We are really in service to the women that want to make change from a place of empowerment, from a place of inner vision and creativity. And so this is why we are passionate about this space and passionate about sharing these tools and practices with you. So I hope that this was supportive and also generative for each of you. So thank you for coming. And I'll leave it to you, Abby, to close the class. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we've said more than enough, and I do see a class number 2 in the process with the core qualities. You know, it's like, okay, we've kind of come in touch with our vision, with what is not working, with where we might want to head, and now the question is, but how? How do I do that? So stay tuned or reach out to us, because this is where we can help.
Great.
And thank you.
Thank you.